I started out in my dad's bathtub with not even a single dollar to my name. My garage was freezing, my grades were slipping, and everyone around me told me I should quit. Today I'm going to show you guys how I went from struggling in a garage to becoming a 15K plus a month barber before even the age of 19. So, to start, before we get into this, I don't want to share this story as boasting about the hardships and stuff I've been through, because trust me, we all are gonna go through hardships. But what I do want is for this story to at least motivate or guide at least one of you, and it will make all of this worth it for me. Throughout my journey, I definitely made a lot of mistakes, but at the end of the day, it was all worth it, and I'm really looking forward to sharing my personal story with you guys. So, to start, this was me as a kid, just a simple kid whose mom was cutting his hair. I come from a very simple immigrant family where it took little to make us happy. By the time I started growing up, my older brother started taking me to his barbershop. And I honestly fell in love. I was taking pictures of all my haircuts, I was styling my hair with gel. Honestly, I was in love with the process. I fell so in love with it that I literally started watching YouTube videos day and night. Some of the people I would watch was Chris Bazio, 360 GZ. If you guys are a barber, you 100% know him, and Blue Mom. It became so bad to the point that when I would go to the barber, I'd be one of those clients who would be saying their cut with the craziest terms. I'd literally be telling my barber, give me a mid to low drop fade with texture on the top, and even my barber was scared to cut my hair. I really fell in love with the craft, but in the beginning, I had no belief in myself. Some of the thoughts I had was, I would never be able to cut hair. What if I make a mistake? What will my parents think? No one would pay me to cut their hair. If I waste this only $30 I have, I'll be broke and I won't have food. What will others think of me? I'm just too young. Fast forward a little bit. I'm extremely thankful to have a brother like this. My brother saw me watching videos day and night, and he decided to buy me my first pair of Walmart clippers. If you guys have ever went to Walmart and bought clippers, I'm sure you guys know these ones, the color ones. And this is where my journey began. This was the first ever lineup I did on my best friend at the time, who we used to hang out all the time. And I literally did it in my dad's bathtub. My friend literally loved it because he himself would have his own dad cut his hair. Honestly, I'm forever grateful to this friend of mine who not only was a friend, but supported me, and in tough times had my back and literally would always let me come by to his house, feed me food. So I really, really appreciate it. This was the first cut I ever gave him as well, after he trusted me because I did a good lineup. And after this, the kids in the neighborhood fell in love and all wanted to come to me. One day, after cutting one of my friends in the bathtub, my mom saw little hair particles on the floor, even though I thought I cleaned it up really well. And she got upset with me and warned me not to cut hair in the bathtub. She didn't want my friend's parents getting mad at me or for me to look bad. She was doing this strictly out of love now that I look back at it. After going back and forth with my mom for a while about if I could cut hair, it took a lot of convincing, because trust me, if you guys come from an immigrant family, you know what barbering looks like. It's something that's looked down upon. And after a while of going back and forth, my mom finally decided to let me cut hair in the garage. Because my mom gave me her trust and the freedom to cut in my garage, I knew I couldn't let her down, and I had to do this to the absolute fullest. Fast forward a few months, I upgraded my garage. I started charging for haircuts. I was at the $15 price point. And many kids from my high school started flooding to come and get haircuts from me. This was the era I started to get extremely busy. There were many days I wouldn't eat. During the winter, it was absolutely freezing and I would be shivering to cut hair. And in the summer, there were many boiling hot days where I would literally be trying to fade my clients and they would be sweating and the clippers would literally get stuck in their skin. But I had to make it work because I absolutely loved it. Around this time, there was a new kid in my classroom at school. We instantly clicked and became best friends. And after coming through to get a few cuts from me, he fell in love with the art himself and told me he wanted to pick the art up. So we picked up his first pair of clippers and he got hooked. He literally became a brother to me. We would spend all morning and all night just sitting in my garage, talking about our future goals, talking about our game plan of taking over the barber industry, and just how we would become the best. I remember many late nights, me and him would be chilling on this sofa right here with one box of Osmos, and both of us would just be sharing it and going at it because we had such a long day of work. These were the beautiful days. We literally were sharpening each other like iron sharpens iron. Around this time, I was charging around $30 for a haircut, and I was ready to keep growing my business. But I realized to make this happen, I would just need more clients. But one thing I noticed in my school was that every student was locked on their phone and everyone was talking about this one new app called TikTok. But I personally wanted nothing to do with the app, as I heard it was just underage kids lip syncing and dancing to different songs. One day I was making fun of some of my friends in art class for making TikToks. They brought up the fact to me that TikTok could potentially bring me new clients. And this turned a light bulb on in my head. From then, I started to listen to them. After a while of convincing, I just said, F it, let's do it. Let's start a TikTok account. I gave her my phone. I let her make my first TikTok ever, and boom, it got 5,000 views. I seen this and the clients pouring in, and I was hooked. Here's where my content creation journey started. Because of my TikTok, my business finally started growing rapidly, and I was so thankful. I scaled my prices to $45 a cut, but a problem hit. COVID. I had to stop cutting hair. At first, I thought the world was going to end. Just when everything was going so well, I had to stop. But it was a blessing in disguise. I realized a lot about myself and had lots of time to reflect on where I wanted to take my career and life. To show you how bored I was, guys, and how much I was reflecting, watch this video. I literally used a pole and 2 car tires and turned it into a barbell. During this time of reflecting, I realized a lie in the industry about the traditional view of barbering. You do not have to cut 50 plus heads a week to make money. You don't need to spend all day in the shop waiting for walk-ins. And you don't actually have to be the best barber in the world to make money. I spent time analyzing the market and started looking at all the barbers who were living the way I wanted to and what they were doing differently. The thing I noticed was these barbers were all using social media, they were all charging premium prices, and they all were investing into their business. So this lit a bell up in my head, and that's the exact goal I kept for myself as I slowly started to ease back into cutting hair as the COVID restrictions were easing up. As you could see here, I had my mask on coming into the shop. During this phase, I doubled down on content creation. I started working on making my service as valuable as possible. And I just started pouring more money back into my business, my main moneymaker. Through doing this, I started catching some serious traction in my business and started to achieve things I could only dream of. 2020, I won the award for Barber of the Year in my region. I started hosting classes where I was teaching barbers how to cut hair the way I would. My clientele was growing rapidly and my clients were in love with my service. I started cutting celebrities and doing penthouse house calls. And throughout this point, I was rapidly growing on TikTok. Grade 12 was coming to an end and I had to make a decision. Would I go to uni or would I pursue my dreams and visions in barbering? It would break my parents' heart if I didn't go to uni, but I knew I had to follow through with my passion and vision. Vision is something that's unique to each person, and you shouldn't expect everyone to be able to see your vision. So I set a goal for myself. Within the next 6 months, if I was able to hit $8K a month before graduating high school, I would pursue barbering. I started grinding harder than ever, spending even less time with friends. I honestly lost a lot of friends during this phase of my life. Skipping class to cut hair. My grades were deteriorating. Literally anything I had to do to prove to myself I could do this. This was me, graduation night. I lost a bet and I buzzed my hair bald. This is how I kind of looked on graduation. And guess what? I ended up hitting my goal. I finalized my decision that I would pursue barbering with my parents' blessing, of course. And I just started heavily giving back to my family. But throughout this journey, it led me to a greater problem. Although everyone in my city was talking about me, although I was fully booked weeks in advance, and although I was making more money than I ever have in my entire life, there was a different problem. I started losing sleep and deteriorating my health. I started spending less time with friends and family and got so caught up in the grind that I thought nothing else was important and was just chasing the next dollar, which I soon realized was an endless race. I was working so hard to take care of myself and loved ones and make all my clients happy that I was literally sacrificing my own well-being. One day I got sick and I came to the realization that you overextending yourself for others leaves you helpless. I put this picture here that kind of means a lot. You literally can't pour from it. If you have nothing left to give, you are literally useless because you have nothing to give. You must have water in your cup to be able to pour it into someone else's. I like this quote. You have to be selfish before you could be selfless with others. And I kind of had to come to a realization that there's no finish line to money. It's a constant race that you will be pursuing the rest of your life. So instead of losing sight of your main goal by getting caught up with the dollars around you, I kind of had to learn to be grounded and realize what was really important to me. I was now in the real world and I knew I had to make a change as I couldn't keep living this life forever. I felt like I was forgetting the reason I started barbering in the first place, to build a life of freedom and be able to take care of my loved ones. But instead, I was building my old dungeon. This picture over here on the left kind of shows that if I didn't make a change, I'd be 50 suffering behind the chair, chasing my next dollar. I cared about my clients so much that I was so afraid to increase my price past the $60 price point, as I did not want to lose them as I valued their loyalty. I had to overcome this mindset flaw by realizing by me doing what was right for my business would allow me to in turn take better care and help others more. Kind of like I said in the last example, you could only give from a cup that has water in it. I stopped taking after-hour appointments. I kept my schedule tight and organized and started prioritizing freedom in my business. I increased my price based on my demand. I focused on one target audience and focused on building a personal brand that would pay me dividends for years to come. Because of this, I was able to go on vacations with my family, build a personal brand that attracts clients on demand, be interviewed at some of the biggest barber events in the area, and just be able to spend time doing what I love with the people I love outside. This is a video at Toronto with some of my friends. We went on one of the rickshaws. This was an amazing night. And I started hitting months like this. 16K in a single month. And this is before cash. I was taking after hours appointments and I was crossing the 20K mark at one point, charging $100 plus for a haircut. I soon realized that scaling past the 20K a month mark just wasn't worth it for the amount of labor it took. But this is just to show you guys what is possible in the barber game. Freedom is a real thing for barbers, and a life where you make the amount of money you want. A life where you could spend time doing what you love. And a life where you could take care of your loved ones is possible as a barber. And I just wanted to show you guys that. Since then, I've went part-time as a barber so I can now pursue my new passion, which is helping you guys become freedom barbers. My journey has been beautiful, full of ups and full of downs. And at the end of the day, a lot of learning. I've done what I came to do as a barber and now feel as if I'm ready to move on to my next passion, which is helping you guys do the same thing I did, of building a barber business that brings you freedom, and build yourselves careers that set you up for long-term success, instead of having to slave behind the chair for the rest of your life until you physically can't no more. If you guys have even learned one thing from my journey, it would make this video all worth it for me. But for those of you who are ready to become a freedom barber, if you are interested in a clear path to 15K plus a month, intensive personalized one-on-one support and coaching from me, and our proven content creation system to implement into your business, you guys could DM me, FDB on Instagram. We're building a whole new movement of freedom barbers and saying goodbye to the old school mindset in barbering. And I'm ready to take along any barbers that are ready. Some of the results from some of the clients we worked with, I'm not even gonna go into this. If you guys want, you could pause and read this. But it's clear. We've hit months and brought freedom into barbers' lives like no one else in the industry has ever done. So if you're like me and you want to bring freedom to your loved ones and set yourself up properly for the future so you could live the way you want, DM me FTB on Instagram. And this journey is to be continued. The one main takeaway I would want you guys to get from this story is don't forget the original reason you came into barbering for. Whether it was to take care of your loved ones, to bring yourself financial freedom, to have a job of flexibility where you could do what you love. Never lose sight of that goal. Because trust me, it's easy to get caught up chasing the next dollar and end up forgetting why you originally came into this art in the first place. And at the end of the day, guys, don't stress too much. Take action, put your head down and put the work in, and leave the rest to God. At the end of the day, His plan is greater than ours.